Hey everyone, Freddie Michaels from TheHardRCritic, where we do not so deep dives into movies. Today we have 1974's Texas Chainsaw Massacre, directed by Tobe Hooper. But before we get into the overall synopsis, review, and rating, please like, share, and subscribe, hit the notification bell, and let's get into it. TCM is one of the most influential horror movies of all time and loosely inspired by Elmer Wayne Hindley and Ed Gein, which is a genius move by Hooper because it blurs the lines of fiction and realism by putting a based on a true story all over its tag. This makes the movie feel like it can happen, or is happening, somewhere in rural Texas. The movie has an ominous, horrific, and yet serene atmosphere all over it. I really love the silent shot which shows how vast the land is as the hitchhiker boards the van, the ability to make the background an element of fear which is also seen in the first time they show the Sawyer family home. We immediately get an uneasy feeling with some of the purposely placed violence in the movie. I can't stress enough that this film is actively trying to scare you instead of leaning on its score, or over-conceptualizing the plot. TCM succeeds on all three rules of my horror movie checklist. Yes, it scares the hell out of you. No, it doesn't over-explain the threat, and it has one of the best endings in all of horror. This iconic slasher has no problem being a slow burn, as the first 33 to 34 minutes of the film are harmless before the one and only Leatherface enters the frame and brutally murders someone with a hammer in a way that had young Freddy running up the steps and hiding under his covers as a youngster. The leg shaking after the first blow, showing the body in shock, to violently slamming the sliding door, made this scene one of the best jump scares in all of the genre. And not because it leans on the musical score, because it's just real and practical. And once this movie unmasks itself for the horror juggernaut it is, we almost forget about the thematic yet dated albeit filming it has. Its 70s exploitation with camera angles, unrealistic responses and effects with the wheelchair tumble, naivety with all of the main cast. In all seriousness, this Scooby-Doo gang is full of Shaggys and Freds. But again, once the flip is switched, not only does the horror keep you fully invested, but even the acting holds up to this day. Also, all of the sets are an element of horror in this film that do their own form of storytelling. The almost apocalyptic look of rural Texas being a world that's discarded, the director really allows the fear to build up in a film with a slow burn rollout after fully developing each of the characters' personalities, before really turning this bad boy on its head. One scene that takes this film from good to great in my opinion comes after the third kill, where we get to see the psychological warfare Leatherface endures, as he's almost frightened by himself like a child, pacing back and forth in the house holding his head and staring off in the frame as he questions his actions in fear. This scene to me really moves the character into pure icon status as a horror movie monster, because it shows he won't outthink you, and while he's completely dehumanized, he's also adolescent. And it's from that moment on in the film that we really get to see how horrifyingly flawed Leatherface is, which adds to his scare factor. I love the finding out that there's skeletonized corpses in the upper room of the manor, as Sally, played by Marilyn Burns, does what needs to happen in more horror movies, which is jump the fuck out of the window. I'd rather die by the fall than the 6'7", 330-pound man charging me with a chainsaw. The bait and switch part was one of the most iconic chase scenes in all of horror, as Sally thinks that she's safe before realizing everyone's connected to the cannibalistic family. And you'd think this is where the film would stall, but no, we're given an incredibly long explanation of the threat and family at hand before the last act. And if you're an up-and-coming director, take note from this movie specifically in this arc, because Rule 2 is imperative to horror. Do not over-explain the threat. Especially in the beginning of the film, it will zap the horror right out of a movie. Even with the deep dive into the older brother's hatred for killing and how the family uses human meat to keep a roof over their heads, there's still lingering eeriness from the family of cannibals that's also horrifying because it tells how normalized their killings are, as they sit for dinner surrounded by human bones like memorabilia in the house. Even at the 1 hour 10-minute mark into TCM, you still know absolutely nothing, and that's the sign of a true horror movie. I would also like to add there's no sign of safety in the film. No one is coming to save this woman from this crazy-ass family, which elevates the fear tremendously. The last act of the film is one of the best scenes in all of horror, but before I provide any detail, let's do a brief synopsis. A group of 5 white friends travel through rural Texas to check on Sally and her brother's grandfather's grave after hearing about the mutilation of a cemetery. They do some dumb horror movie shit and pick up someone clearly attached to the plot. He freaks everyone out by shedding light on a slaughterhouse and basically hands out death flags in that bitch like Altoids before they make their way to a gas station. The naive and overconfident mystery gang completely ignore all the warnings given to them, and still, after seeing blood on the side of their van, all head to Gramps' house. Upon arrival, we get all of the signs needed for a black group of people to just get up and leave. Hell, we might have left Franklin's annoying ass as well, but instead, they separate on foreign territory in the middle of nowhere after being there because of a sicko grave robber. Kirk and Pam specifically do some Disney bullshit, tumbling down a hill, nearly ripping each other's clothes off in About a Summer's Passion before trespassing on the Sawyer family's neighbor's land. I'm going to stop right here and inform everyone watching. Do not do this in Texas. They will shoot your face off. So anyway, once this Pringle can of horror pops, it really doesn't stop. Leatherface answers the door and protects himself from these intruders before they can intrude any further. And later that day, he'd have to do it again and discontinue Jerry's subscription with Oxygen. And by now, LF is just distraught and inconsolable, crying in his kitchen and shit, just going through all kinds of emotional turmoil. He's been forced to murder these 3 intruders, and now he thinks, surely I can't call the police because of the fashion of the deaths. And also, what if there's more intruders, right? Wrong. So Franklin's annoying ass is yelling through the night as most crazed intruders who've had enough do, and Leatherface is forced to run outside and quell the noise, and gets rid of the worst character quickly before chasing Sally through the night, in and out of his own house where this nimble bitch does her first pingaling of the film before dispatching to the gas station. I'm gonna stop right here and inform everyone watching. Do not run outside in Texas at night. They will shoot your face off. So, Leatherface, like the law-abiding citizen that he is, does not intrude on the shopkeeper's land and leaves after chasing this crazed woman all through the night, and we find out that this guy is actually a part of LF's family. Realizing the situation, he viciously beats her for trespassing and takes her back in the house. But calm yourselves, by now we've already established that these guys aren't just cannibals, they're Texans, meaning they finna feed you now. The odd yet welcoming family cooks dinner and offers lodging through the night, and you guessed it, this intruder foreign to hospitality does the second ping-a-ling and is chased down I-10 by the Sawyers family before she can barely get away. Now, this convenient act of coincidence by a stranger would come off cheesy or lame, but the truth is the director put on a show with the fact that Sally had no help or savior in the film. So, if not for a brave trucker and a passerby, she'd be a goner. And this natural act of just human bravery on the back road of a highway just caps off the realism in the film. Yes, humans will help each other and step in if it's the right thing to do. I mean, hell, Google how the Night Stalker was caught. And lastly, we get the best scene ever as Leatherface swings the chainsaw violently in anger with effects too loud and the film going in and out of focus doing this beautiful, terrifying dance with the pretty lady mask on. And as he whips that thing around enraged at the fact that this girl got away, as a viewer, we can't help but live in this moment. So many things to unpack as this woman who's psychologically broken screams and Leatherface spins and swings the chainsaw. Will she tell the authorities about the Sawyer family? Will they go after her? How many didn't get away before her? How many more before this family's violence is halted for good? Regardless of what's to come or came before it, we all know as viewers in that moment, a franchise was born. So, what are the pros? Well, for starters, this is simply the best Leatherface to date, which is sad that other failures after it couldn't master it or even come close to the character. The changing of personas with each face, the killer, the old lady, and the pretty woman. This practical yet psychotic and mentally disabled mountain of a man that's not confident or even able to organize his own horrors properly. The fact that he's more of a mascot for what the Sawyer family represents instead of some weird version of Jason Voorhees with a chainsaw. TCM is actually scary, unlike a lot of horror today. The geographical location itself makes it feel like the film belongs to a place. I'm sure that back then living in Texas, those drives after the film came out were completely fucked. The animal bones and blood being real brings the movie and horror to life, along with the undertones of occultism. The movie has real depth to it with the anti-establishment theme that plays in the background. And while this movie is a slow burn, its opening bookends the genre perfectly, so much to the point that Leatherface's first in-screen appearance is still a shock. It passes all 3 on my checklist of horror, doesn't need a musical score or anything for that matter to lean on, or even violence. Most of the gore in the film is left up to interpretation and hardly shows blood at all. TCM has incredible replay value and one of the most shocking scenes in horror that also happens to be the reveal of the genre icon. It's original as hell, which may sound strange, but that's because the film has been emulated to the bone. The acting is still very good, specifically the hitchhiker scene about man giving way to machine. Honestly, that entire part acts as a syllabus for the film. The movie doesn't overstay its welcome, it's sectioned perfectly into 3 parts and all acts are with purpose in real horror. So, what are the cons? Franklin, man. This dude sucks. He's an annoying man-child who comes off like he's angry at the world for being disabled. Just the worst type of guy and brings the film down somewhat. And even still, I can't express how genius it is to have this type of sympathetic figure in a horror movie. TCM objectively is a bit of a slow burn with the world building, and it can be boring if you're not a horror movie fan. There's parts of the film that look way too dark to see when they dispatch of Franklin specifically, so it's kind of a gift and a curse. The practical effects of the old man are extremely dated and just bad, honestly. There are cheesy moments at the end, specifically Leatherface doing graffiti with the chainsaw being one of them, but at this point in the franchise there's been way worse, and the over-the-top dinner scene is just objectively way too long. Listen, there's nothing I can really say to oversell the 1974 Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It's as advertised. This is the film that other horror movies want to be, and is one of the main reasons that if your film is good but not scary and labeled as a horror film, I will decrease the score drastically. It is iconic and most certainly inspired the blueprint for other horrors to come. It's just a wild and quick 1 hour, 23-minute horror roller coaster once it gets started. This film is a human slaughterhouse that has the best character rollout in all of horror. You can't go into any horror group or talk space without knowing of this film, and I'll probably catch hell for not scoring it higher in the comments. But Texas Chainsaw Massacre is an 8.5 out of 10. Don't mess with Texas. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Leave a comment of what you thought about the video or any movie that you would like to see me review next. As always, be well, and I'll see you soon.